Good morning, everybody. Here we are. We're live. It's all happening from my house, Ben's house, and Sia's house this morning. Yes, Ben Karpinski makes a starring return, a cameo appearance this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Ben. Morning, Sia.
If this was Days of Our Lives, which character would Ben be? Coming back from like an island somewhere, coming back to steal your wife.
Well, the only thing I remember about Days of Our Lives is when that woman was possessed by demons. Do you remember that shit? That was the only time. It's the only time I ever watched a soap opera, and I loved it just because this woman her name was Marlena. I even remember because I never watched soap operas, and then when this woman was possessed by demons, it was suddenly the most fantastic show on TV. You just kept waiting for her to vomit green shit in someone's direction or start saying fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. She never did though. She was always just her eyes went black or something. But it was such a great for a soap opera, they're usually so boring. It's always about relationships that go wrong or people that fall in love. This time it was fun. There was a devil involved.
Well, it was like a daytime demon, but you think soap operas are created for their target market, very boring people with generally fuck all to do during the day.
Right. That's why they're so popular in this country.
And we weren't saying that you're possessed by a demon, though. Good to see.
Well, I hope not. I hope not. Might have been a couple times.
Oh. If you hear a moaning noise in the background, it's not someone who Ben managed to conquer last night after a coffee. It's it's a cat because Ben has turned into an old cat man. That's what he's become. That's
Gareth, I haven't turned into anything. I've slowly evolved from what you know. It's just Meowsers. Meowsers wants to go outside, so she'll howl like an old bitch. She's become like an old woman. She's cranky and she's literally circling me and knocking shit off countertops. It's quite it's just
that cat. That is what happens to a lot of women once you marry them, is they become exactly like that. They moan.
Come on.
Well, she hasn't gained huge amounts of weight, so I'll give her credit for that.
Wow.
She's not fucking up Hopkins. She's literally laying into Hopkins with fists.
Oh, that's great.
I'm not a cat person, but what I do love about Meows is that we all had introduced into coming into your life. Just this random cat that would come in and follow you around to you fully just embracing her.
Remember when she wasn't even your cat once? You remember that?
She decided, well, she's still not my cat. She still believes she's just Meows's. The other day, she often walks along the roof and goes to these other people with a fancier apartment. So she just goes there and she eats fine chicken. I know this because she came back and then fucking vomited onto my floor. I was like, I don't feed you that, bitch. You go over there with this fancy stuff and you come back and you... Yeah, she's pretty funny.
Meows's has no loyalty, clearly.
No, she does. Well, yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah. But that's the thing about cats. They're kind of humbling. Now, if you get a dog, it gives you a false perception of who you are. You think you're amazing. You mostly just full of shit. But your dog's like, I love you, I love you, I love you.
Just before we carry on, I think this is worth mentioning. I bought this inverter thing yesterday, which is why I'm sitting here in the dark. But I see the power's just come on again.
Nice.
It's amazing. So it weighs a fucking ton. It's the heaviest thing I've ever carried on my own.
So you got an expensive one then. Nice.
Yeah, this thing's got, I don't know what the numbers are. I can find you the details if you want me to. But so you just plug it into the wall, and then it's got this huge battery attached to it. The actual little inverter's a box on top. And it basically will, when the power goes out, the battery powers whatever you've attached to the plug at the top. So, I mean, it sounds so simple, and for many people, this is something they've had for ages. But I kept on holding out hope that the show would never be interrupted. And this morning, and last night, we had to do an interview as well at 8:30 in the evening. So thank God I got it at exactly the right time. And then this morning, I could test it out straight away, and it works like a charm. It sounds a bit like... It sounds like one of those machines in a hospital that keeps someone alive when they're not meant to be alive.
Oh.
Because you can kind of hear it in the background going, wee, but it's amazing. And, thank God for technology like this that allows us to get past the ANC and their uselessness. I'm always pleased when I can find a piece of technology, a solution someone has developed that countervents the ANC and their stupidity.
That should actually be like a selling point for these kind of products. It's
Definitely.
like you used to get those proudly South African products with a little flag on them. Now it should just be like a line through the ANC. That's its own thing.
Well, Andre says the inverter is light. It's the battery that's heavy. Yes, I did maybe mislabel the two, but the battery weight. Ben, if you and I see your exercise regimen is kicked into like insane gears. I mean, like everybody's talking about it on Instagram, and if you're not following Ben yet, at the bounce, you got to go and see what this guy's up to. He's like lifting buildings with a single breath and bounding over like the Wanderers fields with 1 or 2 strides. It's become like a super fucking man. It must feel pretty good, dude. I mean, I don't think you've ever been in this shape in your life.
No, Gareth. The difference is that I'm working with really smart people. With like everything in life, you do that, you get things right. You know, you can do so much by yourself, but when you get someone who knows what they're doing, it's incredible potential that you can actually unlock. But I'm not lifting huge things. I'm actually getting my body right for once and for all. So I'm doing a lot of like my hip, this whole area here, the middle section of my life is just rock solid right now. If I ever have sex again, there's going to be warm-ups involved because, I'm very, very strong in my core area, my hip thrusters, all those kind of things. And it's see, the thing is, like, if you want to be strong, people just go and lift weights, and then they have like these little niggles and aches and pains, and it just gets exacerbated as they get heavier. Because, like I said on Instagram a while ago, the temptation to put on huge weights and motivational comments as posts is what everyone tries to do nowadays. That's and bad tattoos. But no, I'm going back to basics. So I'm using my inability to play golf as an excuse to just basically correct everything. And then once I do that, then I'll put on the heavy weights. But I don't want to be big. I don't want to be big. I'm so happy right now because I'm so strong for whatever I want to do. Like, I feel like I've got like monkey strength, like orangutan strength, but yet I still look kind of the same. But it's definitely the best investment ever made in my life, and it's made me a lot happier and more able, really.
Isn't it also great that you've been able to do this before you turn 40, because then it shows you what's possible? And I mean, I've seen these people, there are these kind of inspiring websites and things that you visit and people who you follow on social media. And they show you these guys in...
For fuck's sakes, Meowsers. Golf balls flying at me now.
Breaking into your house or something. You see these people on social media and they're like in their 60s and they're in better shape than I am and then many people I know in their 20s. It's phenomenal. It just shows you what is possible. And once you've seen what's possible, you don't give up on life and you don't become a wastrel and a loser. Like so many people I know who have walked a path in life where they've either felt that they've done well enough and they settle for less, or they just completely lack ambition and they've just never gone there. And I'm not just talking about their physical condition, but their mental condition, their emotional condition, everything. You can see people who've just given up. They think that life is over because someone's told them that at some point, and they actually believe it.
It's so true. And, I've never been one of those people who are into like motivational speakers. I think a lot of it's just a money-making racket. But life has become so incredibly different now. And I can't help but wanting to share, not like a religious kind of person, but there's been so many easy truths for me to carry on. There's been so many easy gains for me to create. And a lot of people just see right past it because, like Gareth, we've spoken about this in the show many times. Humans are obsessed with magic. That's why they believe so heavily in like religion and politicians and celebrities. But you and I or anybody can just be actually so much better. So I've actually started a podcast this week because I want to channel all of these really good things in my life right now into like a time capsule. So I've lined up 8 guests and I had my first episode this week with Jack Lotter. So if you don't know Jack, he's like a no-nonsense kind of very upfront guy, but his mind towards performance and excellence. I mean, if everyone can just bottle that and savor a bit of what's in there, I think it's a very incredible like sort of takeout. So I'm going to create this series, this little podcast thing, and I'll share it with you guys. Because there are amazing people out there, like I listen to Joe Rogan podcasts. And I think, wow, his guests are so amazing. That's why this guy knows so much. Or like Tim Ferriss, but we've still got lots of amazing people here. I mean, you've seen it on Cliff Central time and time again. So I'm trying to bottle and sort of distill this section of my life right now because every time I've got fit or strong in the past, I've then just started binge drinking again, or I've done
Can we just
something.
can we talk about something that I feel is a real problem in the world right now, and this is probably going to make us both very uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable.
Mouses.
No, unpopular. This is going to make us very unpopular. There's this trend, and I don't know where it's come from. I think it might have been just a general kind of leftist devolution of humanity. But I see lots of these and we've spoken about like beta males, these like soy boy, weak, unmasculine men
Soy
who are
boy.
just, no, they are. You know what I
think
mean?
you haven't heard that phrase before, Sia.
So can we just talk about this? Because I know, Ben's going to be with us until past, and it's something we've been talking a bit about on like WhatsApp, because there are all these videos going around of these really pathetic men who are definitely not attractive to women. They're definitely not attractive to other men. They're definitely not the kind of people anyone would want as friends. There is no reason that these people have any function in society, and they've become that
Gareth,
way
I
through.
thought we wouldn't talk about my exes today.
Well, I mean, listen, maybe that's also why you broke up with them.
Exactly. That's why they're exes.
I mean, there's this video going around of like these 4 guys in Los Angeles who are like excited as can be because they're going to have Dr. Fauci on their podcast or whatever, or their video stream or whatever they're doing. And it's the most pathetic thing to see, because these guys are behaving like little teenage girls who are about to meet the guy who, the woman who plays Barbie in a TV show or whatever. It's pathetic that these people exist. There is no way they perform a useful function in society. They can't protect anyone. They can't earn money. They can't produce anything of value. They're not the kind of men who anyone in the world would be able to find a valuable job to do. And I'm worried about the fact that this has become almost like the setting that so many parents, particularly single mothers, are raising their children, their male children, to be. It's a problem.
Yeah, Gareth, it really is, because now I've got to start this conversation by saying diversity and people being individuals is probably the most incredible thing in the world. We all know this. We've all spoken about this. But
Sure.
there's got to be a level where you've got to have some sort of substance and self-worth. And it's become so ingrained, like you just mustn't be this one kind of person, this sort of alpha male kind of person anymore. There was like those
are the bad people.
Yeah,
those are the ones.
It's like everything that's bad comes from those kind of people. And this is something that I touched on quite heavily with Jack, because he's unashamedly is that guy. He wants to be an alpha male because he wants to be a strong dad. He wants to be a strong coach who motivates people. He wants to be a good husband. And all of these things, people forget, like, that's actually your role as a man. Like, that's not one of those options. So you can't just tap out and do these other kind of things and be all soft, because that's how people then lie to you and you don't fight back. That's how China's taken over the world, because of like soy boy mentality. Everyone's like, oh, okay, so that's what they're doing now. Cool. No.
Well, I mean, if you met an army of those kind of men on the battlefield, and don't forget that humanity's only really settled into a more or less peaceful situation in maybe the last 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
Before that, every single generation of human men had to go to war for something. You didn't have an option. Usually you were just drafted and you were sent off, and you didn't know why, and you didn't care why, because it wasn't your business to ask. And now we've got a bunch of people in this world. And please don't get me wrong. Don't let me sound like, it would be very easy for people to stereotype this and say, oh, Gareth's, he's saying there's only one kind of successful man. That's not true. You can be yourself. You can be authentic. You can be real. And you might be one of those people who's into, poetry, or you're into drama, or you're into doing all kinds of other things that aren't about like being these, alpha male, first team rugby playing, warlike, aggressive dudes. Because, the real strong man is the guy who doesn't use his aggression or his violence. It's the guy who has it when he needs it, but doesn't use it. And that might be in argument, it might be in wit, it might be in intellect, all of those things. It doesn't have to be physical strength only, but I feel like there are a lot of these guys who just have no ability to deal with anything. They're the kind of people who ghost each other on social media. They're the kind of people who have nothing to say when confronted with their own lack of responsibility. They're the kind of people who don't pay for their children. They abandon their families. They're just basically useless.
No, now that's a big lump of people. That's a lump.
It is. Yeah. But Gareth, I think just to simplify this, it's like as a guy, as just like a woman, as anybody in this world, you've got a certain responsibility to be better. Okay, so this whole thing about masculinity is the devil. No, it's actually one of the greatest things. We spoke about this before. Like, explore masculinity. You don't have to be the first team rugby jock. You don't have to be the guy who can deadlift 300 kilograms. Go for it. Go poetry, gardening, whatever. But explore your masculinity within that, and that you're a strong character. Like, life is very simple. If you want to attract a mate, you've got to be someone who can protect, provide, and just be someone of substance. Like, it goes for any kind of like form of person.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think, look, it's just an interesting thing to discuss because I see it happening around us. And I'm like, I know a lot of single women who are desperate to find men who are, the things that they want in a partner, strong, responsible, that challenge them, that are confident. Those kinds of things are in short supply at the moment. There are too many people in this world who are like falling over backwards to accommodate everyone else, and they have no strength of character. I think it's a very dangerous thing for society, because who do young men role model themselves on? And especially in a country like South Africa, where we already have problems of fatherlessness, and we have problems of people being raised by their own grandparents because their parents aren't there, or another child in the house. This is a problem, and I think this goes to a much deeper level than the stuff that people talk about generally when they come to South Africa and our problems,
Totally.
All right, I just wanted to bring that up because it's something that you and I have been talking about for a long time. But
Gareth, just to end off on that, the fact that it's now an anti thing, like, it's always, you can discuss things and be different, but the fact that it's always seen as targeting as the wrong thing to be nowadays, that's what really worries me. Like, that's my biggest gripe with it.
What do you mean by that, Ben?
As in, like, if you are that kind of character, then you are a poison to society, because that's what the media is putting out now. And that's why you see all these soy boys doing all kinds of things, because the media and that whole leftist agenda is trying to like vault them into prominence, as in, like, this is it, guys. This is who you should be. This is the kind of person you should be nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So tell us quickly, with all the training and everything, is there an eating program that goes with that, or are you just being disciplined about what you eat?
It kind of goes both ways, Gareth. Like, again, you use a very simple analogy. It's about, if you do have like a good car, you can't just put shit in it. You can't just randomly put this octane in or don't service it. So, but the whole thing about eating is you got to do whatever's sustainable. And people always ask me this question all the time, like, how do you eat to get a six pack and this kind of stuff? Well, it's just one of certain cogs. Like, you can't just eat well and expect good results. Like, just like you just can't train well and expect good results. They've got to go hand in hand. But it's like a very fundamental thing. Again, like, I can't go into what it is, because some people weigh their food. I don't. Some people eat a very specific diet. Mine's all over the place, but it's all within moderation. And the idea being, you've got to eat to fuel yourself, rather than eat to entertain yourself or eat to comfort yourself. Just eat to fuel yourself.
And so, you know what? This working from home thing has got so many people just thinking that they have to live in the fridge, and that's bad news, obviously.
Well,
that's
really comfort,
Yeah. Just to go into something else, because I'm very aware of the fact that we've only got you for a little bit. Congrats on all the stuff that's happening. No. Congrats on all the stuff that's happening with your business. It's fucking phenomenal what you and Mike Sharman have done in the last while. I mean, give everybody an update so that they know, because I've been following this, but I think a lot of people would want to know what you've been up to and what you guys do, and how you've now got tentacles internationally, and you've got all kinds of programs that you're a part of, incubating the business and pushing it forward. It's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Gareth. I think in the latter stages of me being on the show full time, and I couldn't do that, and where I was going with these companies is that we started an advertising agency simply to talk about sporting things, so matching sports stars to brands. I've always been very passionate that sports people, again, we can't get away from this masculinity topic. I always believe that sports people can be good role models when used correctly. Obviously, Oscar fucked that up for everybody, but sports people are good stories. Like, I don't know if you don't mention Oscar anymore, but sports people are good stories, and we always believe in that. And I think sports people are a very important part of marketing mixes in a healthy sense. It's not just blind influencer marketing. And I feel very passionately about that, because I feel like maybe I didn't exercised that potential in my life. Maybe I could have been a sports person, maybe not, I don't know. So yeah, Mike and I started that with Brian Urbana, and then that went pretty well. And Mike and I worked together so well. He's like, yeah, we're like kindred spirits. He's probably the only person I know with a fouler mouth and mind than I. And to top that off, he's actually incredibly smart, a lot more motivated and go-getterish. And, like I always had this whole thing about never be the smartest person in the room. And if you can do that for longer periods in life, because we all plateau out eventually and everyone becomes quite average. But this dude is he's on another level. He inspires me, he motivates me, he makes me laugh every day. It's like, the funny thing is, we have lost in like relationship in my life and being single since I left the show. I developed the best business partner. So I guess you can't have everything in life. I've got a great work. I've got a good work partner.
If only you and he were gay, it would all work so beautifully.
If you and I are gay, sure, I think I'd be in pain. He's a big guy. Well, I've never had that thought for obvious reasons.
Is horrified by this conversation.
I just got visuals I didn't want to have.
I like the fact that you figured something out, which I think many of us don't figure out. You only have so much room in your life. Like, you only have so much energy. You have a quota of energy that you can spend a day, and you have a quota of relationship availability that you have. If you're in a very serious, very administrative relationship, some people's relationships are so complicated that they burn an enormous amount of energy just keeping the relationship together. And maybe it's worth it because they really love that person, or they feel like that's the best person that they could ever be with, and their life has just improved in leaps and bounds since they've been with them. And it's worth putting the energy in. But for many people, it isn't like that. It's a drain, and the offset is just too much for them to handle. I often think that if you found yourself a really great business partner, consider yourself lucky. If you found yourself a really good life partner, consider yourself lucky. But if you only get one of those, that's also plenty to celebrate. And if you have a family that you love and you get along with, what a bonus. If you have friends that you can rely on, that's a major bonus. If you can't have everything. Like, there's no one on earth. You look at Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, who just both got divorced recently, and they're the richest men in the world, right? You can't have everything. Every human being wakes up in the morning going, I hope I'm good enough, and I hope I can make it through life having achieved a couple of things along the way, and I can find some sense of happiness and purpose and self. But we don't ever take stock of the good stuff. And you just said now you found a great business partner in Mike, and the two of you have built an incredible business together. And that wouldn't have happened had you been distracted with the show and relationships and all of this shit. You actually sometimes have to be singularly focused to make things happen.
Well, that's something I've always admired about you, Gareth. You're very singularly focused, and look how incredibly successful you've been.
Yeah.
So the
Great
whole
response, Gareth.
Yeah, overwhelming. So
like,
the whole thing about match
it's like that great Socrates meme where it goes, it's okay, so be average, it's all right. Yeah, you're saying?
Exactly a year ago yesterday, then we started like a sort of offshoot business, because again, Mike and I had this idea, like, what if we take sports stars and combine like Tinder and Trump cards and try to build a platform where they can actually become more professionally orientated and market themselves better.
Yeah.
And so are you guys getting bad feedback, or is it just me?
No, it's just you.
I am as well.
Okay. Sorry. So this whole thing's been going for a year, and like with all 1-year-olds, once you wipe off the excess shit, you realize that it's made you quite old and how it's taken some money away from you. It's actually quite rewarding. You're looking at something you've built. And we've got international clients, as in we have calls with South American people. We have someone in Ireland who runs our sales. Mike's pursuing some amazing Australian leads. I had a great conversation with a guy from Asia yesterday who's running rugby as a startup kind of platform there. And we've also got forays into Europe. And the whole thing is that this company will only grow and benefit people here if we can go international, because right now sport is so fucked here. I mean, the fact that we can't get any crowds together, and we won't for the rest of the year. I mean, sports are trying here and there, but it's mostly terrible. So it's Gareth, it's about being in a place where people are going to fall in love with sports again. People are going to really find value in athletes again. And we've built this thing through blood, sweat, tears, all of those kind of things. And it's something to be really proud of because,
Ben, if you can make a business like that work when sport isn't in South Africa and the world, imagine how much it's going to thrive when it does start working. That's real.
We're definitely not kidding ourselves. Like like with all startups, businesses don't. I mean, you would know starting your own business too. Like they don't make money for a while. But the thing is that we're not really burning too much anymore. We're very resourceful. But like if there's anything that can ever mature you, or anything that can ever test you as a person, or test your will or resolve, or attitude towards things, it's a business. And again, it's very hard to start these things, especially in a country like South Africa with minimal opportunities. But wow, I feel so incredibly fortunate in that what it's done for my mind, and like the person I am now compared to a couple of years ago, I feel very different.
It sounds like this great journey of kind of self-improvement, and I don't mean to sound glib about that because I think most people never get to that stage, and it's just awesome to see and hear. That's why I'm glad to have you on the show at all. I know how busy you are. So just quickly, a lot of people want to know about golf. Are you still playing as much golf? There are a couple of comments about that. Are you playing on courses all over the country? Where are you, and what can people find out about that?
So now that I don't have a back that's killing me, well, it was just me killing my back, really. I've actually started a series now on my Instagram account called Strong for Golf, which ties in with the training I'm doing right now. So this year I've managed to have 2 golf weekends away, like boys trips. In the past, I couldn't play consecutive days. I play generally every Saturday. I still love it. Just learning so much more about mechanics and power and these kind of things. So that's still very much amazing. Like that's what I do. I work hard Monday to Friday. Saturday morning, generally play golf.
But are you playing better golf generally?
Not yet, Gareth, because there's a lot of things that come into it. Like because my back was so bad, I changed clubs to all my clubs having one length, so I could work on the same posture over and over. But then the ball would go far too far with like the smaller irons, so I would always be hitting, like missing greens, and then I got the yips with chipping. So my game actually went to like proper shit. I shot 100 recently, like 3-4 months ago. Sure. Also because like my eyes are bad, I need to get the laser stuff. So I try to actually play around golf. I try to play around golf with my reading glasses.
You're going to get the laser surgery for your eyes?
I have to. Guys, I can barely see the screen right now. I just look like a dickhead with glasses on. So I'm staring at what I believe is the camera.
No. I'm sorry. We don't mean to laugh at your misfortune. All right, Ben, thanks for
go through this.
So are we gonna make this a regular Friday thing or what?
Yeah, sure, guys. It's always great to catch up. And I've just spoken about myself like an egotistical bastard this morning. I would love to catch up more with you guys. But yeah, unfortunately, I've only got half an hour because I have to go to 4 ways. This is how committed I am to my training right now.
4 ways, bud.
4 ways. Yeah, 4 ways in the dark while being judged by meowsers because I haven't fed her yet.
Don't feel bad. The reason we spent most of this time talking about you is because we needed to do a quick catch up on what's been going on. And your cat's moaning at you again, so you better let her out.
Relentless.
Right. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to you in a week. Cool, Ben.
Have a great weekend. Ciao.
Cheers, man. Bye. There's Ben Karpinski joining us this morning, and he's going to go and see to cats and his training now. I could see like you were glazing over when we were talking about golf, Sia. You were like, trust me, I'm not a big golf fan either, but Ben takes the thing so seriously. It's always good to hear someone who is passionate about something talking about it, even if it's something embarrassing like cycling. You know, if you talk to someone about
really,
it is embarrassing. If you talk to someone about something they care about, you see this like this energy in them, which I just love. I would rather hear from someone who really loves something, even if it's something I can't stand or I'm just not interested in, than hear from people who have zero passion. There's nothing worse than those people who nothing excites them. Life is just boring. I just got this from
we spoke to Jasmine Mulholland about with her great passion for spoons on Monday.
Unbelievable, huh? And you know how many emails I've got from people saying you've got to have Jasmine on more. She's fantastic. So we're going to find an excuse to have her on. Who knew that we always thought Rich Mulholland was the one that we needed to hear more from. Actually, his wife. So I just got this from Phil Kutzer, who we'll be talking to later on at DeWitt Motors. He sent me this from Ermelo. Look at the temperature. 0 degrees. 0 degrees. Yeah. Oh. It says fair weather today. Oh, please do me a favor.
Oh gosh. Just using my analytics and resources of my very trusted eyelashes. This
Oh,
morning
yes.
isn't too cold. Every morning this week, leaving the house, I go, oh, what are my eyes doing? Because sometimes you go into the cold and you feel like your eyes are slowly freezing over. You know that when it's too crisp outside. So today isn't too bad, I think.
All right. Well, I woke up in the middle of the night and I realized that there'd been load shedding and that there was going to be more. And I'm just like, this inverter may just change my life because I can
Oh,
carry on
yeah.
working. I can carry on doing things. I would suggest, and it cost me about 9 or 10,000 rand, which is a lot of money. But if you consider that we have to, this show is our bread and butter, and we have to make sure that it's on. And I know there've been a couple of mornings where we've been delayed because of load shedding or technical problems, and we won't have those anymore. It's like just professionalizing the outfit. But I would say to anybody who's working from home and has had serious disruption, this is probably a good investment. I mean, I know 10 grand is a lot of money, but you plug the thing in. I mean, anyone can set it up on any plug in your house. You can't operate the whole house off of it, but I've got the mixing desk. I've got the Comrex that connects me to the studio in Rivonia where Sia is. I've got the internet working, so my router's connected to it, and my
Essentials.
laptop. Yeah, and a light. So I mean, it's and that's not even. I think that's half the power that it can provide for a good 3 or 4 hours. So
So I
I've got
can't
to say,
imagine people, for example, who have a newborn who needs to be taken care of with different bits and bobs,
yeah,
what they're doing with load shedding, but an inverter would help. And one would swear we have a stake in in an inverter business and we're trying to make commission.
I'm really not. And
Yeah.
thanks to Greg, who really at Cliff Central. Without Greg, we wouldn't know what the hell to do. Greg is a genius, and he actually found the right equipment because I wouldn't have known where to start. If you told me go and buy this thing, and trust me, my members of the family have said to me, "This is what you need," and I didn't understand what they were talking about. So I said to Greg, "You know what specs we need? Go and check it out for me." And he just told me what to get, and I went there and collected it yesterday.
So Gareth, bar then water, you somewhat aren't reliant on the government. Not even somewhat. You largely
No,
aren't reliant on the government.
no, I mean, like anybody else, I don't have solar. I don't have the whole
Well, yeah,
battery.
the electricity is still touch and go.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can survive load shedding now. I can still be productive during load shedding, which makes a difference. But I've said this for the longest time, and I'm going to practice what I preach. You need to make yourself completely independent of government, and if it means collecting rainwater or setting up some kind of water filtration thing in your house, or there are ways to do this stuff. And I'm telling you, if you think electricity is a problem, and it is, just wait till the government start fucking up with water, because that's already happening in Joburg. We talked about it. It's been in the news for the last 3 weeks, that there are parts of
Yeah.
Joburg that just have not had water. Now, this is not going to get better. It's probably going to get worse because these guys don't know what they're doing. So just make sure that you have a way of dealing with this. And I mean, for particularly people who've got kids and you got family to look after, and you can't just cope with things on your own. You got to get kids ready for school and all that kind of thing. If they can't brush their teeth, that's a problem. So it's the basics, and you got to look to yourself. You cannot rely on anyone else in this world, and that's been true for all time. It's not as if things are indescribably worse. I mean, most of the time it actually is a whole lot better. I've said this before, but you don't have to fall prey to all the ups and downs of everyone else's bullshit. Let's get into some headlines.
Oh, yes.
The president has mentioned in a speech in Parliament that it was actually the presidency's budget vote in Parliament, that there are a string of indicators that show signs of a rebound in the economy, which was already in trouble before COVID-19. But he said his government's focus on economic reforms is beginning to pay off, with the economy showing signs that things are getting better. Replying to the debate on the presidency's budget vote in the National Assembly, Ramaphosa cited a string of indicators that show signs, which was all that he could find to talk about. He said it's important to make sure that the green shoots led to sustained acceleration in economic growth. Here are some of the things he mentioned: a stronger rand, higher commodity. And that's not because South Africa is doing well or we're clever. It's because the dollar's starting to slide. And it's because other international currencies aren't doing well. It's not because we're good, Mr. President. Commodity prices that have gone up, that is outside of our control. We can't claim credit for that. Good agricultural export earnings. Again, good agricultural export earnings means farmers in South Africa who do know what they're doing are doing a great job and bringing a lot of money into the country. What do? They talk about expropriation without compensation. What do you think that does to farmers? Think it makes them confident about their future? So don't speak with forked tongue, Mr. President. Household spending is on the increase, but that's because people have to, like going to buy inverters and shit. Manufacturing, he says, is starting to take off a little. Look, there are people who've made money during lockdown, and there are people who've managed to right size or downsize their business. And I think that's because, tough times breed tough businesses.
But tough times never last.
Tough times never last. Only tough people last. Don't you claim this, Mr. President, because if anything, your government has stood in the way of people making more money and making themselves more productive and more prosperous. Your government has not helped. It's caused greater unemployment. I shared a thing on Facebook the other day, got quite a reaction, and I'm not sure it's the reaction that I was expecting. Even forget about anyone else, but it's basically this comparison. Black unemployment. So we're not even talking about white, Indian, or colored, right? Black unemployment. There were 1.6 million unemployed black people in South Africa in 1994. In 2019, before COVID, it was at 5.9 million. Now, after COVID, they're estimating 20.9 million unemployed black people in this country. And that is directly as a result of the ANC's bad policy. You can blame anything else you like, but that's the truth. So, Mr. President, we don't believe you. Good luck. I think you're a good human being, but I think you're a terrible president. EWN reporting this morning that a mother of newborn twins was arrested for trying to sell them to feed her drug addiction. You know how we always say that people,
sad.
Not all people should be parents? Well, this is horrendous. The mother of a newly born set of twins has allegedly attempted to sell her children to support a drug habit. The woman and two other suspects have been arrested for trafficking in persons in the Eastern Cape, always the most embarrassing province in the country. Officials nabbed the trio during a joint operation on Thursday. Officials received information about a possible human trafficking case in Uitenhage on Wednesday, where a mother of 5-day-old twin girls was trying to find a buyer for the children. As if it isn't bad enough that there are already predators out there, people who are trying to steal or sell other people. Now you've got the mother themselves doing this. It's just crazy, right? Anyway, the mother had apparently already given the babies to a prospective buyer. They were then led to a house in Uitenhage where the infants were rescued, and the alleged prospective buyer, along with the baby's mother and another person, were arrested. But what happens to these kids now? What kind of life, what kind of future do they have?
Wow.
I wonder how those kids are going to grow up and what they have to look forward to in their lives. To know that the first thing their mother did when they were 5 years old is try to sell them. It's not going to go well for them no matter what, right? I've always said that the most amazing people in the world are the people who adopt kids. And I hope someone adopts these kids and gives them everything that they need, because God knows they don't deserve this. They're innocent little children. They didn't ask for a fucking crackhead for a mother. A cruise ship arrived in Venice for the first time in 17 months on Thursday, signaling the return of tourists after the coronavirus pandemic, but enraging those who decry the impact of giant floating hotels on Venice, the World Heritage Site. The MSC Orchestra arrived empty from the Greek port of Piraeus and will pick up 650 passengers on Saturday before heading south to sample the delights of Bari, Corfu, Mykonos, and Dubrovnik. Oh my God, doesn't that sound like a way to spend a couple of days in the Mediterranean? But of course, there are people in Venice who say that these cruise ships should not be allowed into the World Heritage Site. They say that these are environmental protesters. They warn that large waves caused by the cruise ships are eroding the foundations of buildings in Venice. with which its with its lagoon are designated as a UNESCO heritage site. So who knows what's going to happen there? But these cruise ships are amazing. I've been on a couple of them. We've talked about it on the show. It's a great way to travel. If Venice is worried about this stuff, then make the cruise ships park outside of Venice, and they can use those little boats to take people in and out. I don't know how those waves are any worse than the waves that are created by little, speedboats that are riding around in the canals, and they do. This Dr. Fauci story is getting worse and worse, but the White House has said nothing. There was a press briefing with Jen Psaki yesterday. She's the White House spokesperson, and Anthony Fauci was sitting right there. Not one question about his leaked emails. All of which, this is a major revelation, but they're just pretending nothing to see here. Nothing to talk about here. It's like with Joe Biden losing his mind and being the oldest man in the world.
So he didn't, Anthony Fauci didn't directly speak to the media?
No, but he was sitting there. And every other White House briefing, they've had a question about coronavirus, and then they pass it on to Dr. Fauci, and he gets up and he goes, well, we are trying with the masks, and all that shit. But this time they just completely ignore him. It's as if someone sends out a circular. Maybe Jen Psaki sends it out herself. She sends this round and says, guys, don't ask anything about Fauci or his emails. And then everybody the media don't. They're such good little soldiers. They do exactly what they're told.
Gareth, are you getting into territory of thinking, is the press that's even in the room real press?
No, they're not. They're the publicity arm of the Democrats. That's all they are. I'm sorry. There's no other way to look at it now. And you can see it because of the way that they talk about Joe Biden's exercise regime when the man is clearly demented. I mean, he can't string more than 5 sentences together without rolling over words, stumbling, losing his train of thought. He's a disaster. Anyway, I don't know what to say about it that we haven't already said.
You've said enough.
The Fauci emails have come up, and the White House is pretending it's not an issue. It's not a big deal. In fact, they're defending Fauci over them. And it's there for everyone to read. Listen, if you haven't read any of Fauci's emails, if you haven't seen any of the correspondence between him and the lab in China, between him and various other people around the world who were trying to prop up the idea that this wasn't manufactured in a laboratory with this gain-of-function research, which it seems Fauci's NIH paid for. If you aren't paying attention to that, then you are willfully ignorant. Then you're deciding to be ignorant. And I have no sympathy for you then. I can't take you seriously either. Finally, Facebook to bar politicians from posting deceptive content. This is interesting. Facebook plans to eliminate an exemption for politicians that allows them to post content deemed deceptive or abusive. Will hold them to the same standards as everyone else. Well, I think that's a good thing. Why shouldn't politicians be held to the same standards as the rest of us? Right?
It's a bit of a vague term, deceptive content.
Yeah, and of course, guess who gets to decide what is and isn't deceptive? Who do you think?
Oh, Mr. Zuckerberg.
Mr. Zuckerberg and Facebook, correct. These are people who were in cahoots. One of the emails with Dr. Fauci was basically Mark Zuckerberg saying, we're here to support you. We will toe the line. We are keen to be your PR arm if you need us. And not just in a generous kind of let's give public service announcements where we can. We will keep out information that you don't approve of, Dr. Fauci way. So, you know what? If you still think that the best place to find your news, the best place to seek truth is on Facebook, you, again, are choosing to be willfully ignorant. And that is about all I want to get furious about this morning. That's about all I want to talk about that's serious. Can I turn to some good news?
Okay.
There's a shop in Joburg that I used to go to and buy some amazing, amazing stuff. It's a place called Tom's Art. Okay, Tom's Art. You can look it up. We're going to put the links up on cliffcentral.com. But it is an amazing, amazing place for you to buy stuff for your house. World-class art is meant to be shared, and Tom's Art is back in Johannesburg to do just that. And they're bringing you even more luxurious classics. I, as I said, have been a customer of Tom's Art, and Gideon, who runs the place, is just awesome. You can go and find them in Kramerville. They've got a showroom there, so you can see everything that you need. And you might find things that you don't even think you need until you see them, and then you want to buy them.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. You can go along to the Cromerville showroom, be delighted with their signature classical gold art and frames. They've got furniture. They've got so much more. They're open from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and on Saturdays from 9 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. So take note of that. Tom's Art, you name it, they frame it. They have some of the most beautiful mirrors and frames I've ever seen. And that's some of the stuff I've bought there. Tom's Art in Cromerville. They're easy to find. Make sure you tell them that Cliff Central sent you, and you'll be treated like a king. Go along and see what Tom's Art have in store.
And I don't, have they ever judged you for what you bring or what you ask for? Because I'm still looking for someone to frame my oil painting portrait just of myself.
Of yourself. See, they will not ask questions. In fact, they'll say it's marvelous, because their job is not to evaluate your taste. Their job is to help you make the whole thing more tasteful. So they will do that, and
Awesome.
you can have it framed. You can have it framed in gilt if you want to. Sia,
I'm
Gilt,
sold.
not Guilt. In fact, you will love Tom's Art. I think you should be one of the first people to go there and visit them, and
I'll
you'll find
be
lots of stuff. You could buy yourself a throne. A throne.
No.
A proper. Yes, you will find. Go and look. You will find a chair there that will look to you like a throne, and you'll be.
You know, here's the thing. I was actually looking at getting a new dining room set, and so now I'm thinking, just put everyone around me on benches, and then I just have a throne.
Go and have a look. You'll be so pleased you did. That's Tom's
That'll
Art.
make dinner parties amazing.
All right. So many emails from people about all kinds of things. I don't want to go too much into the Dr. Fauci stuff this morning, but here's a great idea from Nikita, because we haven't done it yet for this morning, the whole like and subscribe thing. So Nikita says, here's an idea. Use it, don't use it. Ask the people who listen to the show and who watch the show on YouTube to record a like and subscribe message and then send it to us on our WhatsApp number. I think that's such a great idea. So and then it also lets us show off who listens to us. You know, we want to see what you look like too, and we want you to be a part of the show. So if you want to send us one of those really stock standard YouTube, what do they call them? YouTube influencers, YouTubers. You point at the screen and go like and subscribe. And you can make it funny or you can make it ridiculous. It's all up to you. But send those to us. You know the number, 079 748 2090. That's 079 748 2090. We'd love to see yours. And we will obviously, if we get them from you, we'll use them so that we can, we don't have to, because Sia and I are quite crap at saying the whole like and subscribe thing. So we'd rather have you do it for us.
Yeah, preferably please record in landscape, but that's just a little technical thing.
So what does that mean? That you turn your phone this way rather than that way?
Yes.
Okay. Even
landscape, how you look at a landscape. That's
in fact that has to do with framing as well. That's where it comes from. You frame a landscape.
I'll learn that tomorrow.
Frame a portrait this way. Yeah. You will when you go and get your portrait framed. I can't wait. Sia, you have to show us once you've had it done. All right. There are a couple of emails about COVID-19 that I don't want to go into at the moment, but here's something cool. This is maybe a bit embarrassing too, but it's from it's from Anonymous. So it's, Dear Gareth, it's been a while since I emailed you. The YouTube channel's working amazingly and it's innovative. Thank you for that. Let me start by saying I've enrolled as a yoga teacher, as in a training course. I'm studying to become a yoga teacher, and I've been doing my Module 3 teacher training in the middle of nowhere, some retreat. The place has a very ambient, relaxing, and tranquil, soothing effect on the body, the mind, and spirit. In one of our classes, we had to do yoga completely blindfolded and follow instructions from our teacher. If one has to consume vegetarian meals for 7 days, yoga is...
Sorry, may we just pause and backtrack? They had to do the assignment blindfolded.
Yeah, this one assignment. That's not how they do all of it, but this one in particular. Okay, so
still okay, but carry on.
Yeah. Right. So then they go into the description of asana and pranayama and the breathing and connecting to God and the higher self. Blah blah blah. I don't understand.
Blindfolded. Okay.
So they do it. blindfolded and they've eaten a lot of vegetables. And this person was doing the yoga, and then all of a sudden, inadvertently, I let one rip.
Oh,
So
no.
they farted really loud. It wasn't deliberate, nor was it my intention. It just happened. I feel it gets frowned upon by the majority of people in the yoga community. I do understand that it is rude, bad etiquette, and no
Yes.
one needs to smell that. But Jesus, I'm doing yoga, and people get uncomfortable when you talk about farting. And yes, it's disgusting. It doesn't make me any less of a person. So clearly, whoever this was is being judged harshly by the rest of the yoga community. All right. So
Oh, gosh.
they're asking for clemency here. They say, please, if I fart, it's not out of me trying to be funny or facetious or mean. This will inadvertently happen when you consider you have to twist your whole intestines round. Now, I'm not in any way condoning people to go to yoga classes and fart out loud. This is so great. That's not what I'm saying.
But
Try to keep it in, but sometimes you can't hold it in. I was taught that farting in public is rude, and I understand that. I'm also not going to justify farting. People should have good etiquette. Just try not to eat before an asana practice. Yes, it's gross. What are your views on this, Gareth and Sia? I would like to make an atonement with my yoga teacher and apologize profusely. We need to have a good community, and I feel I've let them down. And then they go on to explaining how the gas comes from the root chakra.
I don't want to know that.
It's
Nor
very-
does it make it any better, Anonymous.
So I'm just going to finish with the last paragraph. I once again would like to apologize to the whole yoga community, even people who obviously didn't hear the part or weren't.
Because
in the
once
room,
your farts
The whole-
reverberated across the whole world.
for my abhorrent behavior. Yes, it was a fart. Thank you, Gareth, for an amazing podcast. I've drifted away from you guys. I do hope we can stay in touch. Your show always brings me much joy in the mornings. Blah blah blah. Namaste. And there are days where I like you and I dislike you. Well, all right. You know what? You've also got to release those bad chakras and those bad energies. So if you do it by means of a fart and then you manage to gain some positivity by listening to us, you're doing fine. Congratulations, Anonymous.
I have so many questions. Like, after the fart, did you stay for the rest of the class? Did you leave? If you leave, how do you come back next time? If you stay, do you just avoid eye contact? But also, I'm a little schnorrer, so I would know how much I paid for that class. So I would think, if I leave now, then I'm wasting 40 minutes, which will be this much in rands. Do I really want to waste? No. But gosh, Anonymous, I don't want to be in your shoes.
Well, clearly Anonymous is feeling very conflicted about what happened, and who can blame them? I wish I knew if it was a him or a her, because it would make it extra funny either way if we could actually put a picture to this. Anyway, good luck to you. And we're going to find out from someone really interesting who I met a little while ago, called Sibs Qetu-Yates, and we're going to speak to him about his life and the things he does. He's a bit of a content creator, and he's got a show called Sit Down with Sibs, which is
He'll
quite
teach
cool.
us how to like and subscribe.
Absolutely. He knows how to do this. So we're going to use him this morning for that purpose. But we're going to find out about his life. He's a very cool guy, and he lives in Joburg, and he's doing all kinds of interesting stuff. So he's going to join us after 7. And we've got Phil Kutzer joining us. I'm going to tell you all about the very luxurious road trip that I took to the Kruger Park on Friday. In fact, on Thursday
FOMO.
and Sunday. No, because I left it out on Monday on purpose, because I wanted to tell you about it when Phil was on, because I've never traveled in such luxury on land in my life, ever. And I mean that. I'll tell you about it now. Anyway, that's happening. And then George Meany will join us as usual, because it's a Friday morning. So let's get your day off to a good start. I hope you're already there, and stick around. cliffcentral.com's got plenty more where that came from. Don't you go anywhere. Big thank you to Ben for joining us this morning. He'll be back again on Friday next week. So that's good news. If you've got anything you want us to throw at Ben, then send it to us, Gareth at cliffcentral.com.
Not physically.
This week on Auto Central.
First question comes from Reckless Rex, who's asking a very interesting question, and I think an important one. I sold a car that broke down on the same day I drove it off the floor. can I cancel the transaction? So this car was financed, it was under warranty, but after driving it off, Reckless Rex, he or she, realized that there was some issues with the vehicle. So he just wants to know, or she wants to know, can I, under the Consumers Protection Act, insist that the transaction be voided and refunded the cost of the deposit?
Catch Auto Central, SA's #1 motoring podcast, every Monday at 9 a.m.
Do you suffer from collectivism?
So I collect pretty much anything creepy crawly.
Do you have an obsession with objects?
I've really just started loving vintage Rolex watches.
Are you a fanatic, a devotee, an aficionado?
Is it a bit over the top? Definitely. Do people walk in and go, what are you thinking? Yes.
Cliff Central dispenses a weekly dose of collectomania. Join me as I talk to compulsive collectors. Fascinating.
He sold it to me for R1 million. That watch eventually sold for R8 million.
Possibly a little weird.
The tarantulas are definitely by far the most impressive.
Collectomania, Mondays on the Gareth Cliff Show. Brought to you by SA Gold Coin Exchange and the Scoin Shop. Well, we are live, cliffcentral.com on a Friday morning, and you can be part of the show. You can comment on YouTube live. You can also send us a text or an SMS or a WhatsApp on 0797482090. I tried to send an SMS for the first time ever in like a year or two. I mean, I never send. Who the hell sends those anymore, right? It's part of every cell phone package, but who the hell uses them? I tried to send it the other day, and mine doesn't work.
I received an SMS from some brand promoting something, and I thought, this is bizarre. Do you understand what year we're in?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
hey, talking about advancements in technology, I just want to name and shame myself. You know, this office is quite fancy that we're in. And it is only this week, with me being predominantly alone, that I finally figured out how to work our blinds here. Yeah.
So we've got these awesome Taylor blinds. You know, they're the people who sponsor our history podcast, Blind History. And they came in and they installed these things. And I thought they were probably unnecessary because we used to have those ones, you know, like the Venetian blinds that you would use a string and you'd pull the string and it would go up and down, and then you'd twist that thing and then they'd kind of open up or down like this. Anyway, those were sufficient, and like none of us are particularly higher grade about these things. Anyway, Anthony and his team brought in these amazing blinds, but they're electric. So you actually press a button, electronic. You press a button and then they go up or down, and you can stop them in the middle. And they're amazing. But Sia's only just worked this out now, and they've probably been there for about 3 years.
40,000 years later. I get, you know, if it's not for work, I get very old school with technology and I get easily frustrated. There's one, it's one all-powerful remote, and it works for all of them, but it never works. I pointed at the blind that I want opened, and then the one in the opposite room will open. So I'm like, what is going on? So I'm very proud of myself. I can now proudly open 3 of the blinds.
Yeah.
There's still two that confuse the heck out of me, but it's very impressive.
I'll tell you who would be impressed with you is Jane, because she knows how to work those things. By the way, Sia sent a picture on our WhatsApp group for Cliff Central yesterday that he was watering the plants in the office. And I've got to credit you, Sia. You've been accused of killing plants before, but you're actually looking after all our little plants, which I think is really cool. I thought you were a murderer of plants. I believed all the propaganda. I did. I believed all of it. But now I'm willing to give you a second chance.
What hasn't Aus Jane accused me of over the past few years? Who knows?
I'm not going to bring up the hideous charges that Jane has brought against me in the past. All right, let's move on. We've got other things to talk about. There's quite a lot that we need to know this morning, and one of the people that I want you to know about is Sibs. He's somebody I met a little while ago, and he's doing pretty cool things online. He's creating some amazing content, and I had a meeting with him and with Greg the other day, and we thought we better introduce you to him. Sibs Qetu-Yates, and he is an impressive guy. We're going to bring him on here. He's doing all kinds of good stuff on YouTube. He's got Sit Down with Sibs, where he interviews some of his well-known in not only the hottest restaurants around Johannesburg, but also in society, and some celebrities and all kinds of interesting people. How are you doing, Sibs?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself, Gareth?
Good, man. It looks like it's dark where you are. Is there load shedding, or you just not have your influencer light on at the moment?
No, I don't actually have a ring light yet. My Mac packed it up a couple of weeks ago, so I'm now back on my 12th dial.
Oh no. Okay. So listen, tell us about your show, Sit Down with Sibs, because I've watched a couple of episodes. You've interviewed like these amazing people who run these brilliant restaurants around town, and it's pretty cool to see some of the places are opening up again after lockdown. There's life coming back into the world. Some interesting stuff is happening, and you obviously have been there to interview and to talk to these people long before this started happening, but it's a part of like what's going on around us at the moment. Do you want to update us on what's going on there?
Yeah, I'd best describe the Sit Down with Sibs as sort of being a Joe Rogan meets Top Billing. It's a very weird combination, but it was sort of a combination I realized sort of there's a bit of an appetite for. So where sort of my journey started was actually during the hard lockdown. In that first 21 days, I was kind of because I was working doing my articles during the time, and we obviously had a lot more free time.
What did you study at university? And you're at UCT, right?
Yeah, I was at UCT. I studied politics and law.
Okay, politics. What a waste of time.
Yeah, I realized that very quickly. So basically, about 3 weeks into that lockdown, a good friend of mine, CK Lonzi, who's in the EFF, we decided why don't we let's do some form of podcast on like StreamYard, and we can talk about our experience at Model C School as Black students at Model C School. And we put this thing up on Facebook and Instagram, and it had about like 3,500 viewers listening in live, and then it had up to I think 5,000 views. And I sat there thinking, I was like, oh wait, like people actually care about what I have to say, and there's certainly an appetite for some of the topics I engage with. So then I sort of started hosting Instagram lives with like Sibs Qetu-Yates and a few other celebrities over the lockdown period. And again, it was sort of the same sort of reaction. There was an appetite for sort of what I was doing. And then towards probably like at the end of last year, I started actually doing it properly. So we sit down with celebrities such as
So no. I mean, the show sounds really cool, and I advise people to go and check it out if they haven't already. But what's your background? Like, tell us a little bit about you. You mentioned this friend of yours from the EFF. Weren't you involved in student politics too?
Yeah, I was. I was in the student representative council at UCT. So I ran under the Blue Party, but I left. I left them a couple of years ago. I think the reason why I left politics, we can go into it if you'd like, but it was more that. Pardon?
No. I want to know why, because I think a lot of people are so disenchanted with politics at the moment that your reason might explain the way some of us feel.
Yeah, I think getting to sort of spend that much time with politicians and actually realizing how they tick and where their interests lie certainly sort of pushed me away from it. I think without trying to sort of like sound too self-promotional, but I was there to sort of help. And I always got really quite frustrated when there were often campaigns I was starting, or some of the work that I was doing was always getting stopped by politics, by people wanting to advance their own agenda as opposed to actually being there to want to help the people. And just noticing that on a student level and realizing, oh my word, this is gonna be my life for the next.
People have this idealistic view that, like, in politics they're going to be able to help everybody. Meanwhile, they can't even help themselves, and they see the kind of people who are in politics and who are actively engaged in politics, and it's always disappointing. I mean, I know there are some really good people in politics, right? You can count them on probably two hands. And they are public servants through and through. They're altruistic people. They're really not in it for fame or for money or for anything else, but they are such a tiny minority. And when you see all the other people, the shitheads who are in politics, it's just, it gives everybody a reason to like run and hide.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget one of the things I was told by someone in the DA. She said to me that we need to stop hiring career politicians, and we need to start looking at politicians who would actually be successful in another field somewhere else. And I've sort of always had that in the back of my head, is that let me actually go on, let me go do something else, and then maybe one day I'll go back into politics. But for the time being, that's not really something I want to be doing.
All right, so student politics, and then you started messing around with kind of creating content online. What's your big plan? I mean, where are we going to see you if everything works out in the next 5 years? What would you like to be doing?
I would like to be interviewing. So the plan is that anyone who of substance that steps foot into Africa should be sitting down with me. That is the initial sort of short-term plan. And so far, so good. I mean, today I'm sitting down with the first international band that has been touring South Africa since the pandemic started. They're a Canadian band called Neon Dreams. And then even as soon as this year, I'm going to be moving over to go to London for a couple of weeks and hopefully interviewing some people over there. And then eventually, as that is November, going over to LA.
Who would you really like to meet? Like, who's on your top 3 list of people? If I could get you anyone in the whole world to sit down and have a conversation with, who would you really like to interview? 3 people. You've only got 3.
So funny enough, someone you've already interviewed, Zubi. He's one. Zubi Music.
He's.
I would say Jordan Peterson is also up there.
Okay.
And then the last one would have to be a sportsman, probably like Michael Jordan or someone like that.
Yeah. Well, that's not. I mean, listen, I want to hear those interviews. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
What's the situation? Are you kind of in Joburg now? Whereabouts are you, and what's your day-to-day stuff? Because you obviously studied law and you're doing articles. That's no fun. You basically are a servant. You're a servant in a law firm if you're doing articles, right? That's a horrible thing to do. Just tell people how horrible that is.
So much to my parents' disappointment, I left my articles. I realized I did not want to be sitting behind a desk.
Welcome to the club of people who've disappointed their parents by dropping out of law. That's my club.
Yeah, and then I'm entering an industry at the time where it's probably the most difficult to be in the entertainment industry. But I mean, so far there's been some good progress.
I'm going to tell you some uncomfortable truths here. First of all, we don't need any more lawyers, and second of all, we don't need any more entertainers. So you've chosen 2 of the shittiest career paths available to people. So you didn't even do articles, or you did, and then you decided this was me?
Yeah, I stopped 6 months in. But yeah, it was interesting. It was.
Don't be diplomatic. It must have been horrible. So law clerks and people who work in law firms doing their articles, what you guys do is basically you run to and from court, you file papers. It's the most dreary administrative stuff imaginable. And you have to draft stuff, and then they throw it all out, and they don't take you seriously. And they pay you no money, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you spend so much time in the master's office that you actually just you realize why these people are all so depressed. It actually starts getting you a little bit down. But my day-to-day is At the moment, I'm in Cape Town because I'm filming with the band a bit later on today. And then I'll be back in Joburg next week, and then recording out of our studio in Joburg.
Awesome.
And yeah, so it's going to be pretty much recording about 3 or 4 times a week, with content coming out twice a week.
Now, listen, you haven't really gone in the direction I thought you would. You haven't been boasting about all the things that you've done. I mean, you've started. You're the founder of a tech startup, which is pretty cool, and it's called GetVen.com.
Yeah.
And it's South Africa's first online marketplace dedicated to finding, booking, and paying for venues for events, meetings, and productions. That's amazingly clever. You guys have been you've been reported on in Venture Burn, among other things. You also worked in mining as a junior trader, and you actually worked in Switzerland.
Yes, yeah, that's what I did for my gap year.
How old are you? 48?
I'm 25 in a month's time.
Yeah,
but yeah, so I was one of those kids that I wanted to either do everything, but I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. And I think like sort of growing up in the environment that I did, there was a lot of pressure to sort of, you had to go like the business science, or you had to go the law route or the accounting route, whatever it was. And I was never that kid. And so basically I decided I wanted to take a gap year, and what happened was my gap year going to the UK fell through. And then I was approached for this awesome job in Switzerland, where I worked as a junior trader trainee at a commodities trading house in Zug, which is about half an hour outside Zurich. And I spent a year there. I loved the experience. I think Switzerland isn't for me. It's very vanilla, so to speak. Not much happens, and I needed a little bit more excitement in my life. But it was a really, really cool experience.
That's not all. You also have been the recipient of a Bronze and Silver President's Award in the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme. So, I mean, that's something that in England, people boast about that right up front. You also were a student representative council member at the University of Cape Town. We spoke about that earlier. Former chairperson of the DA, a branch of the DA when you were still in it.
Yes, I was very, very, very actively involved. But yeah, thank you. Thanks for the praise.
All right. No, well done, dude. Listen, it's always interesting to meet people who are doing things and making things happen. And I hope we get to hear more from you. So best of luck. Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Sit Down with Sibs Instagram page. My content will be distributed as well on Clip Central as well as the Road Radio Network. And you can find me at my handle on Instagram is @SibsQI. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm also quite active on there.
Hey, what's the best piece of advice you've been given? I mean, you're doing all these things and you're only 25 years old, and you seem to be one of those people who really takes opportunities by the horns. What's the best advice you've been given by somebody that you can recall right now?
Just start, I would say. Just start.
Don't wait.
So I think,
Don't wait for conditions to be perfect. Just get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think too many people are apprehensive to start, and they always look back with sort of regrets. And I don't really want to live my life with regret, and say, I should have done that. So I'd rather just go for it and sort of try to assemble the plane on the way down.
There we go. Good stuff, man. Nice to see you. Thanks, Sibs.
You too. Thanks, Gareth.
All right, cool. Well, we'll put all the links up on cliffcentral.com, and you can go and connect with Sibs and see what he's up to. I think he's a good guy to watch. There's interesting stuff happening there. And we like to introduce you to people who we meet through Cliff Central, who you might be interested in talking to yourself. Seems like a very cool guy. What are you
Very
laughing
cool.
at?
Well,
No.
I just, I took him off the screen and then I put myself back on. I'm like, hey, why
You do
we
look similar.
squint
were-
and some people might just think with this.
No. There were some people who commented through the course of the interview with Sibs. It's like, hey, is this the backup plan for Sia if something goes wrong? So you better watch out, Sia. I mean, I wouldn't even. All I have to do is change 2 letters of his name, and basically, it's you.
It's so similar as well. I wouldn't even look. He wouldn't even be the downgrade. He would be the upgrade. If you replace me with him, I wouldn't even blame you.
He's younger.
Of course, yes.
He's had look. Weren't you on the? You were like the junior mayor of Durban or something, weren't you?
Gareth, but I didn't go to Switzerland and do the what of the what when I was 12 years old, and he probably worked on crisp DNA when in his spare time when he was 7.
Definitely. Definitely.
So I'd actually applaud you if I got an email later today that said,
See, we've decided to replace you. Yeah.
yes, I'd go, I get it.
Secretly, that's the reason we had him on the show, is to introduce him to the audience so that they'll warm to him and forget about you.
You know, my paranoia will just start playing with me. I'm going to go home and just cry now. No, he's a very cool guy.
He does say, I mean, that's why I asked him about the best advice. He says something that I think I've always believed too, is like you can't wait for conditions to be perfect for anything to start. I know lots of people who they've wanted to have kids, for example. You know, these friends of mine who are in their 30s, and then they've waited because they thought, oh, we don't have enough money yet, or we're not living in the house that we want to live in when we raise kids, or we're not in the country that we want to raise kids in, or whatever. And they've waited and waited, and then by the time they're ready to have the kids, it's too late. Or things have become, you know, their situation's changed. I always think, like, how many of us have missed out on opportunities? And that's just one example. How many of us have let something slide, let a really big chance slip by? And it could be in health, it could be in relationships, it could be in money, it could be in adventure, it could be anything. And you've said no to something, and then, you know, 3-4 years later, you go, oh, I wish I'd just done that.
Yeah.
And you were waiting for conditions to be perfect, and they never are. Like anyone who will tell you that they're ready to have a child, or ready to start a business, or ready to take a year off and explore the world. Anyone who tells you that they're only half sure. The brave ones do it anyway, regardless of how nervous they are about what might unfold and how it might go wrong. So there's a useful bit of Friday advice from Sibs. I think it's very cool to remember that. Okay, so in a little while we'll talk to Phil and to George Meany, but before we get to any of that, Sia's got a couple of things on his agenda. There is apparently a piece of art. I suppose you could call it art. I think it's bullshit.
I don't want to call it art.
Yeah, there's an Italian artist who's just auctioned off an invisible sculpture for $18,300.
You know,
No.
I've seen this headline pop up over the past couple of days, and I've been ignoring it, thinking this cannot be true.
This is one of the stupidest things. If the aliens do come, and and you know, we've been talking about the aliens a little bit. If the aliens land on Earth and they hear about this story, they will switch on the engines and they will disappear back into outer space, and we will never hear from them again. They'll go, "Oh my God, there's no way we can save these people. They're ruined." So what did this guy do?
Silly.
He's
so
an
his
Italian.
name, yeah, Italian artist. I'm going to butcher his name, but I'm trying here. His name is Salvatore Garau, and he titled his piece, in inverted commas, I Am, and it doesn't exist. It literally does not exist except in his imagination. So he further explains it by saying it doesn't physically exist, but it exists in a vacuum. He says the vacuum is nothing more than a space full of energy. And even if we empty it and there's nothing left, according to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, that nothing, Heisenberg uncertainty principle, that nothing has a weight. Therefore, it has energy that is condensed and transformed into particles, that is, into us. What the hell did he just say there?
Yeah, that's some bullshit. You know what's happened here is that this is what happened. This shows you that if you don't have real problems in your life, you start to develop paranoia, and you start to come up with absolute nonsense. And this is just a word salad. That means nothing. And to bring in Heisenberg as if you understand science and you understand what that principle is, it's just like such a cop-out, because really what you're selling is nothing. You're selling nothing. And I don't think he's the idiot, by the way. I think he's just a really good salesman and bullshitter.
I blame the people as well who bought it, or the person who bought it.
Some fucking moron somewhere in the world parted with $18,300. That's a lot of money to buy something that does not exist.
So this sculpture, in inverted commas, was it initially pegged to sell for between 6,000 and 9,000 euros, but it ultimately sold for 15,000 euros. So that's just over 18,000 US dollars. So far, it's an unnamed buyer, but who would actually... I think this is someone who has a lot of money and actually just wants to own it as just to take the piss out of it at dinner. So all they get...
This person can't be smart. They really, you do so many more powerful and positive things for the world with $18,000. They better hope, this person, whoever they are, they better hope that their name is never revealed, because they deserve any amount of scorn that comes to them. What's the dollar nowadays? 15 rand. Yeah. So do a quick calculation there. 18,300 multiplied by about 15.
274,500 rands. That's what someone bought. So because there isn't anything physical that you can buy, the buyer simply got a stamped certificate for the payment, proving that, well, this nothing belongs to them now. But the artist Salvatore instructs that the sculpture will need to be displayed very particularly in an unobstructed area that is 5 feet by 5 feet. And he says, he's very, very happy that it will be displayed in this private home, and it may be displayed in any light since it's not there.
Displayed.
It can be displayed. It can be. I would like to really, really hope that next month another story comes up that this was all one big prank, and it's actually Johnny Knoxville coming back with Jackass 7 or whatever Jackass they're on now, because I refuse to believe that this is real.
Yeah, it's got to be them. Maybe someone will do a big, ta-da, we got you, we fooled you, you moron. I hope that happens. Anyway.
Yeah, but the Salvatore's a real artist, and he's sold real art before, and now here we are.
Good for him. If you are clever enough to be able to make money out of other people's bullshit, and I mean, there could be an argument. We're being dismissive of him, but there is an argument that, like, when you buy a Bitcoin, what are you actually buying? NFTs, these non-fungible tokens. These things, some of them, you can't actually have the thing. You can buy a share of something, or a share in an idea. It's kind of when you start a business, and let's say you're a 50% shareholder in a business, but it's only at the idea stage, you're actually buying nothing. So maybe this guy is the future of art. Let's not consider him to be a moron. The person who bought it obviously needs their head read, but you don't actually own a Bitcoin when you buy a Bitcoin, do you?
Gareth, you can't compare it to a business, though. A business, you might be buying into nothing initially, but you know that over time it will either prove to be a success or not.
How do we know that this sculpture of nothing, this invisible thing which doesn't exist, how do we know that that won't accumulate value over time, just as other ideas have? It's an idea. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. There may be.
You're really going there, actually, with this.
I think it's ridiculous. I've already stated my case in respect of how I feel about it. But if I have to look at it from an objective point of view, and try to see the other person's point of view, and try to understand why they would spend money on this, you never know where value accumulates. And just because he's created this bullshit piece of art, and in his mind it exists, there's a lot that people have put money into that's much dumber than that, and sometimes it's come back for them.
But there isn't like a slab of concrete, perhaps, that he says this nothing is on, and maybe the value of the concrete will accumulate. There's nothing. Just space, 5 feet by 5 feet.
No,
we live in a ridiculous world. I'm just done with this world.
Say it's stupid. Anyway. Apparently a Danish journalist who was busy researching a story. Now, she's a serious journalist. We're meant to believe she's a serious journalist, and I don't know who this person is, so they may be. But she said that she wanted to go and do an article. She wanted to do a piece on swingers clubs and how swingers clubs work and how people behave in swingers clubs and what goes down and how it is. And she wanted to be experiential about it. So she actually went to a swingers club and had sex during the interview that she was doing for the segment on the swingers club. Now, that is someone who's devoted to the job, right? That is someone who's really into her journalism.
She's the employee of the year, damn it. Good for her.
Yeah.
No, she is quite frank about it, though. Her name is Louise Fisher. She's 26 years old and works for a broadcast platform in Denmark. And she was covering the swingers club in Copenhagen that was opening. So the initial brief was just profiling this place that is opening now after COVID-19 and lockdown restrictions have been lifted. And she thought, I'm 26 years old. I don't have a boyfriend. Screw it. What do I have to lose? And look, we're now talking about her on the other side of the world. So it actually worked for her.
I don't know that you need to, like, if you want to talk about something, you don't have to have experienced it every time. You are able to. For example, I don't have to jump off a building to know that it's going to be an uncomfortable end. I don't have to run through broken glass and barbed wire to know that that's going to hurt me. There's some things that you perhaps don't have to have experience of in order to talk about authentically and in an authoritative way. And I'm sick of these people who say, for example, unless you have had the same lived experience as I have, you can't comment on things. That's nonsense, because everyone's experience is so completely different that even if you and I did exactly the same thing, let's say we both had 7 drinks in a row tonight at 7:00. All right. We both took exactly the same alcohol. We had 7 drinks in a row. We would both have a very different experience of it. You might hate it. You might start throwing up. I might be fine. You don't know. It doesn't matter what your lived experience is in these particular situations. And to go to a swingers club and have to have sex in order to, it's really a publicity stunt. That's what it is. It's not actually going to give her any insights that an observer who doesn't partake might not have. I mean, does the observer always have to be part of the experiment?
And
I know that's what relativity tells us, but you don't, in order to know that it is cold in Antarctica, do you have to go to Antarctica?
Good point.
Some people would say yes, because then you can explain it with much more experience and color, and your understanding will be so much more visceral. And yes, of course, but I think it would be fairly obvious for me to say Antarctica is cold. And if you say to me, "Oh, well, you haven't been there, you don't know," I can say, "Well, here's the temperature in Antarctica right now. It seems kind of, objectively true."
Plain and simple. Yeah, she says most of the...
Did she enjoy it? Is she going to go back?
Yeah, she says most of the feedback that she received from this piece have been positive. Some people just thought she was just being brave and cool. And then others think that she crossed the line in journalism. But she personally says that she thinks that it's very cool when reporters try to make the stories in a different way. But to actually like have the body slapping and things, you can, no, thank you. Just, I don't want to hear that. And I don't want to be particularly her colleague when she comes back afterwards.
To each their own. I would not necessarily, like, if you go into a drug cartel to report on what they're doing, right? You're going to discover how the drug cartel works. Does that mean if you're called upon to kill someone who's in a rival gang, that you're going to have to do it just so you can tell your story? I think not. I think that's probably a bad idea. Yeah, I think that's a bad idea. Just a thought. But I might be wrong. But I don't think it's necessary to go and kill someone just so you can have a story.
Good point.
Anyway, let's get to Phil, because I've got lots to talk to him about. So while you're getting him on the line, Sia, let me just quickly tell the story. How's it, Phil?
Morning. How's it, guys?
Good morning.
It's nice and warm in Ermelo. You sent me an update. Everybody on the screen. Nice balmy 0 degrees in Ermelo. Shit, lucky to be you, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to probably hit the minuses over the weekend, but yeah, I mean, today we're still on the zero. Yeah,
Well,
quite chilly.
they do say today is probably the coldest in like the northern parts of South Africa and the east where you are. They say today's the coldest day of winter so far. So get ready to be
Yeah.
standing near heaters and trying to get some rays of the sun on you today at some point. All right. So last weekend I went to the Kruger National Park with the family. So we all went in different cars because people left at different times. And me and my sister and her boyfriend and our family friend whose mom was in another car and whose brother was in another car, we all went in a car that Phil organized for us. Now, I said to Phil, listen, I don't mind what you find for me. You decide, because you've been to the Kruger Park a number of times. What's the best car to go in? And I didn't have any expectations there. I thought, you know what, this will be, whatever it is, it'll be nice. Well, I collected this car. Let me just show you. I'm going to actually put some pictures up here as well. I collected this V-Class Mercedes. Now, I've always thought that these are like soccer mom vans. I mean, that's a fair thing to call it, right, Phil? You should call it a soccer mom's van, right?
Yeah, it falls under the category. It's one option.
This is one of the most incredible things I have ever been in, and I'm not exaggerating that, because when you travel on land, you kind of realize that, especially if you're going to do a road trip, and this is a good 4 hours to Mpumalanga and to the Kruger Park gate. So I thought it'll be fun. We'll take a little drive, and we'll be in reasonable comfort because there's space in this car. Well, space is only the first part of it. These things are so full of creature comforts. So I drove all the way there and all the way back. But I also sat in the back during the time we were in the park. And you could put your feet up, Sia. You can stretch yourself out. Now, we made a bit of a joke of this because we decided we were going to turn it into like a sitting room, effectively. So I'm going to show you some pictures of what we did in the back there. We put down a Persian carpet. Okay, this is not a joke.
What?
I put down, put down a little Persian carpet. If I'd had time, I would have gone and bought one of those chandeliers that you can, with a suction, put onto the sunroof. This thing.
Wait,
has
how
two
big is this thing?
Huge. You've got two sunroofs at the back. I'm going to show you a picture now. Just give me a second. I'm going to load these pictures. So we decided we were going to take the piss a little bit and really kit it out like it was some kind of sitting room. You've got. What else have I in the front? Let me just start with the front. So the driving experience is incredible because you're in the cockpit of any really good Mercedes, and you know what those are like. They have everything. It's all Bluetooth is connected. There's a screen there, temperature controlled. You've got seat warmers, but you've also got seat coolers. So you know how. And the only other car I've ever been in that had a seat cooler where it blows cold air through the little holes in the seat. Yes, that's how luxurious this is. The only time I've ever driven a car that had that before this was a Bentley. That's the level of luxury we're talking about here.
Ooh, this is fancy.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. So you get in the driver's seat, and obviously you can arrange everything around you. You've got your cup holders, and there's even a cup holder, by the way, that if you've got coffee will keep it warm, and you press another button.
No.
Yeah, it'll keep the coffee warm, but if you press the button again, it will cool something else. So if you've got a bottle of water or something, it'll make it cold. Oh yes, I'm not joking. This is unbelievable. I've never seen this in a car before, and maybe for many people who are listening to this now, that's been happening for a long time. For me, this was novel. I'd never seen any of this before. The front of the car, because it's such a big car, I mean, it's long. You've got so much space. The people at the back might not be able to hear you. So there's this thing that it does where it actually connects. You can speak like I'm speaking to you now, and it's got a little microphone that then bounces the sound.
Yes, it does not.
Yes, so the people in the back can hear you. Oh, yes. Not a word of a lie.
I am going to look at these cars in such a different new way.
I thought it was just a van that a soccer mom would drive around. I had no idea that it was this cool. I'm blown away. And Phil, I mean, for you, obviously, this is not a surprise. You've been in these cars, you sell these cars, you know them well. But let me just show you a couple of pictures quickly while we're getting ready. So this one was also red, and I was a little bit nervous because I heard that some of the animals don't necessarily like a red car. But let me show you this quickly. Can you see that? Hang on. I don't know why this picture's
not yet.
No, it's not loading. Hang on. Let me just see if I can find this. So here's my sister and our friend in the back with their laptops. Look at all that space. They've got a table in front of them. We put a little
whole office.
We put a little vase with flowers there. No, seriously. Look at my sister. My sister's got the internet running. So she was basically, look at all those windows. Now, if you're going to the Kruger Park, you want to be able to see out of the car, right?
Wow.
You've got basically unimpeded vision in every direction. You've got unbelievable light and visibility. And you've got air conditioning running the whole time. So it's perfectly climate controlled too. I mean, it's just
You're
perfect.
comfortable. I'm just taking a peek at the seats there.
Seats are great. So we put.
So you still have the luxury of a Mercedes-Benz that you're used to.
So just to mess with people, we also put scatter cushions and a throw on the back seats. So it's just like over the top to make it extra fun. But I mean, can you tell how magnificent this thing is? How luxurious it is?
Gareth, on the picture too. I mean, your seat configuration, was it 2 seats in front and then 2 and then like 3 seats in the back?
Those 2 seats that they were in are at the back of it, and then the other 2 seats in the back are facing them, so that you're almost sitting in, as I said, like in a sitting room. And they've got a little table between them, which you could see they put the laptops and things on. But it's unreal. I mean, and you can actually turn those seats around so that it's more like auditorium seating. The way
exactly.
That's what I was seat around.
Did the seat configuration work when it was like, like this,
Yes, it did. Yeah,
okay.
It was great. It was terrific. Right. You had 2 people looking, because what we did is we took the kids when we were in the park. We decided to like be good uncles and aunts and things, and we took the kids, and they loved it. I mean, they were absolutely in love with this car. They were climbing around in the back there. There's so much space. It's safe. They can sit down in the seats that are facing the opposite way and watch what's happening through the back window. It's amazing. It's an amazing, amazing vehicle. I was just blown away. So, Phil, tell me the specs of this thing, because obviously I'm not the car expert, and there are going to be people listening to this now who want to know exactly what it is.
Yes, well, sure. I mean, so you get like quite a few models. I mean, the entry level starts at the V200, which is your entry level. Some of you guys would also know the more familiar bus, which is called the Vito. Which is more of a down spec one than the V class. I mean, it comes with cloth sheets and way little more creature comforts and so forth. So your entry level V200 already starts being in the luxury market of the bus, and then it goes all the way up to your V300 exclusive or avant-garde, and I suppose that's the one that we organized for you, which is a double range. I can see from the pictures. I mean, it's got the wooden inserts on the side and so forth.
Yeah.
So the price then varies from about $1 million, your entry level, and it goes up to about, I think the one you were driving is around about 1.6, 1.7, around about there. Yeah.
Right. Okay, let me show you what it looks like on the outside, because that's what a lot of people are asking as well. So this one, and by the way, it was very easy to drive. I've never driven a bus or a combi or a van before, but I was a little bit nervous, but it was easy as hell to drive.
I was going to ask that.
That's what it looks like.
That's like a cherry red.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, it's very nice.
What I wanted to find out, Gareth, is does it feel clunky? Does it feel like you're driving a big car?
No, and the other thing about it that I liked is there's so much storage space. Like at the back, they've got a boot, which is obviously, we had luggage because we were staying in the park for 3 nights, and we were taking food and stuff as well because it's self-catering. And there was so much room. There was space behind the seats, the driver's seats, and there was space in the boot as well. And there's a little shelf on the back. So if you are a soccer mom who's going to do the grocery
shopping, how big is this car?
It's huge.
Shelf?
So let me just quickly show you this. Here's the back seat area again. Let me just give you an idea of what it looks like. This is when we put the throw and the scatter cushions and some champagne just to fuck with everybody, you know. I wanted it to. You can see the Persian carpets on the floor in the middle there. But honestly, it's just like, Phil, this is a spectacular thing. And if you'd said to me at any time before, even when you told me about this one now, you know, take this car, drive, I would have thought, what a horrible thing to drive. It's one of my favorite cars that I've ever been in, and I've been in sports cars, I've been in you know, real luxury sedans. This thing is amazing, awesome. And to have that much space, it's really just such a win for a road trip or a holiday.
Oh, wonderful! No, I'm happy you liked it. Yes, I'm sure. I mean, especially for Kruger Park. I mean, what we sometimes do, which is probably illegal, is we open the doors, because I mean, you probably see that you can't open the windows on the back.
Steer's getting nervous. Well, yeah, you don't want a hyena jumping in with you, do you?
Exactly. No, you probably got some good consumption as well. I don't know if you paid attention to it.
Yeah, the fuel consumption, like any Mercedes, you've got different settings, and if you put it on economy, on eco, you know, there's the E setting. Then it really uses. I mean, this one's diesel, and it used. We made it into the park and doing all the driving around, game viewing stuff. I only filled up on the morning that we left, and we still had about a quarter of a tank. So I was being careful.
Sweet.
Got back to Joburg, and we had half a tank left. So it's phenomenally economical. It really is. It's very good.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, such a great car. So who buys these?
It's a difficult question. I mean, we also thought it was going to be one specific type of customer, but now it's all over. You get them even from young families with little babies, and it goes all the way up to people that would like to transport executives and people from the airport back to the hotel.
Yeah, because I was thinking like VIP transfers and things. This thing's amazing, right?
Correct. Yeah.
The other thing is that because I'd never driven one before, and because I wasn't looking for them, I never saw them on the road. Now I'm seeing them everywhere. They're quite a lot around, and they are like the smartest taxis you can find, right? I mean, if you were driving a taxi, this would be the one to drive.
Oh yeah,
sure, yeah.
How's
the sound? I see some people are commenting on the sound. Is everything okay on your side?
Yeah, there's I think there was an echo. Yeah, it's gone now.
If you just sit further forward. Yeah, if you sit, the further you sit back, the less it works. But yeah, listen, Phil, just an amazing car. And I would say to anybody who's looking for, especially if you have more than 2 children, and it almost, whatever happens in the back, doesn't even matter if you're the driver. You just let them go wild because they're safe in there, and there's enough space for them. And it's just incredible. I mean, like, whether you're in the business of transporting people around, whether it's kids, whether it's a car that you need to put people in for trips or whatever, this is just the most awesome car. So I wanted to bring you on this week before I forgot all of this. But yeah, a really awesome experience. Thanks, Phil.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Gareth. Nice.
You want to say hi to George quickly, because we're bringing George on?
Hey, Phil.
Morning, George. How are you?
I'm good. I've been listening. I love the old Vito, but this thing seems incredible. It's, all it needs now is an electric engine.
Yeah, and then you sold. Is the electric version coming?
Yes, you can go and check. It's called the EQV, which is going to be the electric side of the V class. Yeah, so looking forward to that as well. Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably going to be launched in Germany around about next year, and then probably take a while after that to get to South Africa, but it's coming. Yeah, looking forward to that one as well.
All right, Phil, we'll have a lucky weekend, and we'll talk to you again in the next weeks. Cool, man. Cheers.
Enjoy it. Cheers. Bye-bye.
George, I love this feature where you can say something in the driver's seat and the people at the back hear you, like it amplifies you.
Yeah, I mean, is that part of the sound system? Is it just the acoustic sound system? Wow.
And by the way, the sound system is amazing. I mean, on any good road trip, you need good music, right? So we were playing music half the way and talking a lot of the time, and it was just fantastic. And as you could see, my my sister and my cousin, they're basically our cousins, they were busy in the back there doing work, and they could just get on it. And both of them said that usually in a car they would get car sick doing that, but this thing's so smooth, and they were so comfortable that they didn't even get car sick. So it's like taking your office on the road. So George, I saw you are busy putting out some content about your electric Jag. Very, very nice. Saw that yesterday.
I don't think I'll ever go back to a fossil fuel or an internal combustion engine vehicle. It's just, when you drive this car every day, you feel almost in a meditative state if you switch off all the music and all the sound.
Well, it's so quiet, right?
It's so quiet. It's I've been driving them for a while, and OEMs have given them to me for a week at a time, and it's you get so much information coming at you when you get the car for a short period of time. I mean, like you probably experienced in the V-Class, there's just so much to take in that it almost overwhelms your brain. But when you start to spend every day with the car and you get used to its features, suddenly a lot of things disappear into the background and you can enjoy the thing.
Well, I mean, it's like that with any car. And I'll never forget, rather, the first time that I bought a convertible, and it was the most exciting thing in the world. And it lasted for a long time. It lasted longer than I thought it would, like a couple of months, where it was still a thrill to put the roof down and that kind of stuff, But eventually that just becomes, it's your car. So it's like a wheelbarrow. You just eventually, you get used to it. It's also the same, I mean, in relationships. A lot of people say that they, are deeply in love for the first couple of years, and then later on you just get used to each other, which is for some people a bit sad, but it's the reality in many relationships. So I think the same happens with a car. And if you're still getting a kick out of it now, that's a really good sign.
Well, I mean, up to this vehicle, cars were just functional for me. Whereas I'm hoping the novelty doesn't wear off too quickly, but it's an incredible car to drive. The instantaneous torque, the silence. You can choose to have noise or music, or you can choose to have silence. You don't.
Well, that engine is so quiet. It's so, that to me is whenever I've been in an electric vehicle, I just love the fact that it just hums, it purrs along. It doesn't make any. There's none of that. And, I've been driving diesel cars lately, and when you start them, it does feel like a bit of a tractor when they start up.
Well, when I had my Land Rover, when I got up to a boom gate that I had to talk to the security for, I had to actually switch the car off.
You had to shout at them, yeah.
When you open the window, the engine noise is just too much. So, or when you push an intercom out your window, has it ever been noisy that you turn the car off? Well, I had to. Now I don't have to do that.
No, it's awesome. All right, so what's on your agenda for the day?
Well, there is an interesting phenomenon that I didn't see until probably a week or two ago, and that is SUVs are killing most other category of car. SUVs are growing unbelievably all around the world, including South Africa. But the trouble with SUVs is because they're so big and heavy and often not very aerodynamic, they are the biggest source of carbon emissions out of most car categories. SUVs even trump, in terms of the volume in the world, not a single SUV, all the SUVs put together in the world emit about 544 megatons of CO2.
Wow. So,
whereas the heavy truck industry,
if you drive an SUV, you're an environmental terrorist. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I didn't realize that SUVs are this heavy with carbon dioxide and monoxide. So it is. It even eclipses the aviation industry if you added all of the SUVs together.
Really?
In terms of carbon emissions. The aviation industry puts out about 233 megatons of CO2. And SUVs are second in the world to only power plants like power stations.
Jesus, that's heavy. That's some very heavy going. All right. So are you saying to us that we shouldn't be driving these?
No, I mean, I think it's not something you can force.
Have you become an environmentalist, George?
Well, no, I think I've always been. It's in the back of my mind, but I'm not gonna go. Don't make anything a religion. But it's important. It's very important. We have to do something about it, but we can't.
Yeah,
we can't.
let's just remember, for all those people like you, George, who are feeling superior because you drive an electric car, and you think that you're not damaging the environment. Let's just not forget all of the coal that we require to burn in order to recharge your batteries.
George did not say he felt superior to us. He was just stating his claim. That's all.
Exactly, and I'm trying to address that with the solar panels on the roof here. So no, you can't. I mean, we can't switch overnight. It's just impossible. If all the coal-powered stations went away, it would cause some serious chaos. Industries wouldn't be able to work. But SUVs are. I just didn't realize. I mean, look at the Kardashians. All they drive is SUVs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think SUVs are for many people, it's the pinnacle car, right? You have this interesting kind of overlap between family utility vehicle and something that's quite luxurious and that's quite sporty and fun to drive. So I think for many people, it fulfills a whole lot of their requirements.
It does, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. But I would imagine and predict that the world's OEMs are going to focus on the electric SUV. I mean, you already got the Ford, I think it's the F-150 electric pickup truck in America. So, and South Africa is a very big Bakkie nation. Bakkies are a big thing here. SUVs as well, but SUVs more so all over the rest of the world. And then Pope Francis is going to get his first electric Pope mobile.
I thought it always was an electric because it looks like a stupid little thing. I thought you could probably power that with a.
I knew you were going to go after its looks.
You could power that with like 3 Duracell batteries that you buy at Checkers.
Because it goes so slow.
Even Duracell is a little too nice. You know those Hong Kong batteries.
Oh yeah, the ones that you buy like 100 in a pack. Those ones
that come with like the cheap toys that you buy for your nieces or nephew.
No, I'm not so sure you can push that thing forward with the amount of glass he's got in that.
Actually, I used to think it was a wind-up, or what was it called, a pullback?
Oh, one of those things.
Yes.
Or it had an actual, like a thing at the back that you twisted up, and then the spring would give it enough energy to
just let it go.
Well, remember the noddy car with the big that twisty thing on the back.
Exactly.
Yes.
I thought the Pope Mobile was like that too. So you're telling me it's actually been an ICE vehicle now? They're going electric.
Now they're going
surprised.
So, you'll have an EV in 2022, and they're busy building this thing now. It's called an Ocean SUV.
Right. I'm so excited.
520,000 Rand for your wind-up car.
Oh, it's so nice. Well done, the Pope.
And then there has been some research done, in none other than the US of A by a company. What is this company's name? I can't recall it now. But this piece of research detects early dementia by monitoring your driving behavior.
God, please, can we put Joe Biden in that car immediately?
So they're busy tracking 3,000 drivers aged 65 to 79 voluntarily, and they've been the cars have been fitted with gadgets and sensors and stuff. And up to now, they are confident that they can predict mild cognitive impairment and dementia with 88% accuracy by monitoring driving behavior.
Well, that would be very, very helpful, because I've often thought that, there are certain people who are very lucid at an advanced age. There are people who are in their 90s and are perfectly okay to drive. And then there are other people who are in their 60s and really should not be allowed to drive. And even people, obviously, much younger. But if this research can figure out definitively whether you're in a state to drive, I think that's terrific. I mean, they've already... they've got these cars that won't start, and if you blow into the breathalyzer and you've got even a drop of alcohol on your breath, then it won't allow you to drive. So the more we can remove dangerous or irresponsible people from the roads, the better. And that goes for the demented as well.
I mean, dementia is a problem, and Alzheimer's. I mean, you can't be operating a vehicle
No.
at top speed with those things.
And you certainly can't be president of the United States with your the nuclear codes in your possession if you're a demented old man as well. So someone has to test out the same research on Joe Biden. Please, can we just do that?
Well, I mean,
just
they
know-
probably can because he drives apparently. US presidents are not allowed to drive. He likes driving.
Oh yeah, but there was this embarrassing picture of him in some electric vehicle the other day, but it had two steering wheels. So he was sitting at the one steering wheel and the actual driver was at the other one. So it was like a publicity shot. And clearly they won't allow him to drive because he'll just drive straight off the edge of something or into something.
Talking about driving.
Didn't he break his leg? Didn't he break his leg like chasing the dog around the yard or something? The guy he's really, really old and very fragile.
Well, they shouldn't be letting him drive. Maybe they've put some of those sensors in Joe Biden's car. Talking about driving off the edge stuff, in St. Louis, which is in the state of Missouri.
Mm-hmm. St. Louis.
St. Louis, yes. And this driver drove off the edge of the road, tumbled, hit a tree, went over end, so the car tumbled over in an embankment, hit a wrought iron fence, and then catapulted through the air and through the roof of a house and landed at the foot end of somebody's bed while they were sleeping.
Oh, wow. That's a hell of a way to wake up.
Oof, that's annoying.
Yeah,
And
just a little, yeah.
Apparently,
a bit of an inconvenience.
Cars driving into houses and sitting in living rooms or going through roofs is not an uncommon thing.
I would be very, very angry if I woke up one morning and there was a car at the end of my bed. Not to mention uncomfortable, and in this cold weather, probably freezing as well. That's not good.
Exactly.
So what happened? What happened to this person? Did they arrest them?
Well, I don't know. Nobody died, so this person is very, very lucky. And I'll post a link so you can see the image of this guy in the roof of this house. It's like, how do you even get this right?
That is so silly. We have such a long way to go for this.
Only happens in America.
I'm surprised it's actually not Florida or something this time around.
You love Florida, yeah. And then finally, car jamming theft. Be careful. Check out what your insurance policy says, because sometimes you may not get paid out if your car gets car jammed. Because often insurance, and I'm not talking about your car getting stolen, I'm talking about things being stolen from inside your car. Because if you leave the car open and something gets stolen, insurance may just not pay out. And while you might not think that it's right or it's appropriate, it is your responsibility to make sure your car is locked. So if it gets jammed and stuff gets stolen out, your insurance may not pay you out for the stuff that was stolen.
It's frustrating that we have to think about this, and there's just one always has this sense of paranoia every time you now get out of your car.
Well, just when you don't walk away from the car and push the button and expect it to be locked. Make sure the car is locked, and before you walk away from it, check the door. I think as South Africans, we've got this habit of we get out the car, we slam the door on the way, walking out of the car, we push the button, we watch the indicators go, and we expect the car to be locked, and it might not be locked because they could have jammed it.
So you're not saying that insurance companies pick this up and they deem it something like negligence, and then they don't pay out?
Well, what the insurance companies do often is they look for evidence of break-in. They look so if you say that something got stolen out of the car and you want to put in a claim, they're going to look for the evidence of the car actually being broken into. And in the case of car jamming, there's no evidence of the car being broken into. So you could be at risk. I'm not saying all insurance contracts are like this, but you could be at risk. Check out your insurance company's policy. And make sure that you lock your car. Check the door before you walk away from it.
It's crazy that we now have to factor this in.
Exactly. And I think we've lost Gareth, and I'm done.
And you're done just like that. No, it's fine. It seems like we've lost Gareth out of a connection thing. But George, thank you so much. It's good at least that we have you back this week and you did yourself justice. We weren't going to let your name.
Too bad a job, Sia. You didn't do too bad a job.
George, no. But let's call it a day there, not just a day. Let's call it a week. Thank you so much for having us on this morning. This has been the Friday edition of the Gareth Cliff Show. George, we'll chat to you next week. But as always, there's Autos Central. You can go onto our website or the app and catch up on full episodes of Autos Central whenever you wish. So you don't just have to wait for Friday to listen to George. But other than that, the rest of the team, Leanne, Gareth, and myself will be back on Monday morning. Have an awesome, awesome weekend. This has been the Gareth Cliff Show.